Well, after last week's debate, as they tried to convince donors the president is fit to stay in the race, the campaign making calls to major funders in an attempt to ease their concerns. But one wealthy Democrat says Biden needs to prove himself. His name is Whitney Tilson, and he says, quote, "Right now I feel deceived. If it's as bad as what we all witnessed on Thursday night, then he needs to put his country first and step aside immediately. If a cognitively impaired Biden remains in the race, he will lose badly and forever be remembered as the selfish man responsible for giving us and the world 4 more years of a total nightmare that threatens everything he and we believe in." And the New York Times is raising flags over how Biden's performance might impact the way our adversaries view us. The paper calling our nation's image unhinged and doddering, especially at a time when the U.S. is supposed to be leading the fight against a rising alliance of autocracies that include China, Russia, and Iran.
Okay. I love evil Barack Obama at the very end from Breaking Bad. Oh, yes, baby. Do you smell it? Do you smell it? Do you smell the sweet? Oh, yes, that is the smell of panic and salt this morning, and it is filling my cup, and we are only a few hours away from the 4th of July, and so it is a wonderful time to celebrate our great nation today, Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. Democrats backstab Joe Biden, and all of the smart money is on Joe Biden dropping out. But those calcified morons inside the DNC are actually planning on moving up the nomination for Joe Biden to like a few weeks from now. So the Civil War is all set apace. Meanwhile, Donald Trump rolls on like a freight train as he is winning in polls from New Hampshire and New Mexico. Baby, lock it in. We'll talk about all the polling today on the show, and we'll also talk about something remarkable that has happened over the past 24 hours. Will Donald Trump be able to overturn every single conviction based on presidential immunity? Is there a path forward for Donald Trump to effectively use the SCOTUS ruling from yesterday to flip all prosecutions on their head and to get them all thrown out? This is incredible as we are staring down the barrel of Donald Trump being sentenced just a few days from now on the 11th of July. So get ready, baby. Buckle up. Jack Posobiec joins the show to talk about all of this. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Okay, so what is panic look like for Joe Biden? We're going to talk about Orange Biden in just a second. Believe that. We're going to talk about how orange Joe Biden looked yesterday, and we have a live meme review to do with all of you. But first, I want to talk about what panic looks like, because just a few short years ago, Jake Tapper, and I'm going to ask for something, ALX. I got to get something. We played on the show last week. We got to get it. Laura Trump versus Jake Tapper in the year 2020. I want to show you what just a few short years does. Okay? Because Laura Trump's dear friend of the show, Laura Trump was on our program right before the debate. And I want to show you the decay of Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper, who represents, of course, the phalanx protecting Joe Biden. These people are, of course, scum. They are disingenuous. They know exactly what's been happening to Joe Biden. They've known this for a long time. In fact, we'll show you articles in just a second of Hunter Biden in his own text messages saying that my dad has dementia. Listen, this has been a known fact. Joe Biden's own sister didn't want Joe Biden to run for office because she knew that Joe Biden had dementia. that he has Alzheimer's, that he's already suffered a bunch of aneurysms, and Joe Biden can't continue. And now you've caught, like, they've been caught, right? They've been caught stepping. And because the CNN debate was broadcast, now we have the numbers, almost 100 million people tuned in on digital and on terrestrial broadcast. How do you get around that? You can't. You can't get around 100 million people seeing Joe Biden with pocket, with his pocket catheter that goes backstage, his adult diapers on, and having an aneurysm on stage. You can't unsee these things. So now that the game is up, the media has to drop the charade. Now I'm going to show you exactly how bad it's gotten. Here is what it looked like when the media was doing a full-on skit. All right, it's incredible. It's like actors. They deserve Academy Awards for this kind of performance. This is what it looked like when Jake Tapper was doing everything in his power to act as a shield for Joe Biden and nearly burst into tears on TV, defending Joe Biden's declining mental state, which of course was in full-blown display in 2020, as a stutter. Watch.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch somebody on stage search for
that's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
I'm the camera. Have you ever met anybody whose candor in speaking, like the way that he carries himself in speaking, is like this close to bursting into tears? Every single thing that Jake Tapper says, this close to bursting into tears. Every single time he talks, you can see his lip quivering in that video. Meanwhile, these were the articles being published at the time. Here from Fox News, all right? So you don't even have to go to like InfoWars or Gateway Pundit, right? Or even Breitbart. You right to Fox News. Hunter Biden joking about his father having dementia. Wait, what? In 2019? What exactly are you talking about here? Like, we could all see this years ago. So this is the fraud, of course, that has been perpetrated, the lies of our press that have been perpetrated. And now it's incredible. Like, it's biblical what's happening. Don't you believe that? Like, it's very much like the Old Testament kings that were struck down for being evil rulers. There's an entire book about it. It's called the Bible. You can see what happens to evil rulers when the lies and the evil deeds finally catch up to them. They are brought low. They're turned into animals sometimes. They're always humiliated, and they always go out and collapse, right? And this is, in fact, Joe Biden's collapse. This is what they sounded like 4 years ago. Jake Tapper lip quivering, defending Joe Biden. Here's what Jake Tapper sounds like last night. Let's see if you can sense maybe a vibe shift here.
In an attempt to reassure voters about his fitness for office, Biden campaign chair Jan O'Malley Dillon holding a call with party leaders earlier today, telling them this too shall pass. There is a discernible pattern of Democratic officials seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
What I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Democratic officials have tried to spin this in many ways. They said President Biden just had a cold. They said it was just one off night, akin to when President Obama in 2012 was rusty and seemed a little huffy. But behind the scenes, make no mistake, most Democratic officials witnessed the same shocking spectacle that you did. The difficulty that the presumptive Democratic nominee, the current president of the United States, had just articulating his basic thoughts during the 90 minutes of the debate.
Who's that guy? What happened to Jake Tapper? Who has he been replaced with? Is there a body double? Did they get Jake too? Whatever happened to the stutter, Jake? Now I will say this, and I hate to say it, and I'll only say it this one time, but I'm really glad that the CNN anchors didn't interrupt. We went hard at Jake Tapper on the program the entire week. But quite frankly, as I watched, and let me know in the comment section if you agree with this, as I watched, while some of the questions were certainly biased, obviously, these questions about these far left-wing fringe ideas and ideologies that the regular voters don't care about. If you were only to ask questions that voters care about, it would just be inflation, immigration. That'd be it, right? And maybe forever war. Those would be the only things that voters care about. But nonetheless, I didn't see any interrupting. I was expecting a bunch of excuse me, like a bunch of Karen actions, right? Super high soy, super high cortisol, zero testosterone, a lot of Karen pounding on the table. I didn't actually see that. It was actually kind of nice. They let the two guys talk, and that was devastating enough. Now Jake Tapper's letting Democrat members of Congress, a guy from Joe Biden's state, a little snivelly rat named Chris Coons, okay? So this guy is just such a garbage pail. This little man, and he's teeny, he's 4 feet tall, this guy. He's the guy who let Joe Biden sniff his daughter. I mean that, okay? I'm not trying to be a dick here. We have the photos of Chris Coons standing there smiling as Joe Biden, creeps on his poor child. On any other level, Joe Biden would be put in prison for stuff like this. We can grab that clip. We'll show you. But first, I'll show you something that is as humiliating, which is this dude last night on Jake Tapper's show, being no, Joe Biden's fine, and Jake Tapper actually bodying the guy over it. Let's go.
I want to start by playing some moments from the debate.
We're rid of the ability of Medicare with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
How do you explain the performance at the debate in moments like that?
Well, Jake, you just took what was probably the most difficult moment to watch of the entire 90-minute debate, but you didn't share what I found the hardest moments to watch, which was when Donald Trump was unleashing a torrent of lies, of invective, of vengeance. And we have to look at these two moments in contrast. The Philadelphia Inquirer, the most important newspaper in the swing state where I spent the weekend campaigning, watched that debate and concluded that the political party whose leadership should be going to their candidate and saying, in the interest of our nation and in the interest of our party, you should be stepping aside, sir, is the Republican Party. Because Donald Trump gave no reasons for folks to vote for him and a lot of reasons for folks to vote against him.
Oh, really, Chris? You want people to step aside? Well, why did you step aside when Joe Biden was doing this to your daughter? Why were you stepping aside and allowing this to happen? You sick little snivelly monster. You little rat. What kind of a father allows this? Yeah, I got daughters. Some man, some dementia-laden, dandruffy old man did this to my daughter. I'd be in jail. I promise you that. I'd be in jail that night. And I'd be having to make a lot of calls from payphones to my lawyer. No father would ever allow his daughter to be stepped on like that. There's more, here's another angle of this happening. Look at how Coons is grinning gleefully about this happening to his child. When I say these people are demonic, there's no other word for it, right? Like we know what's said about protecting children from predators. Like, this is important. You must protect your children from predators. Predators in the schools, predators roaming the streets, predators in the workplace, and predators in elected office. What a evil little goblin, this man. What a sick goblin. Okay, we have a play beside. Look at this. This is Chris Coons sitting here defending Joe Biden. Look at this behavior. Are you a parent? Do you want to be a parent? I'm sure even if you wish to be a parent, if you're a young person, you could imagine the love that you have for your child. And then could you imagine letting this happen to your child? I mean, this is not what we're going to do the whole show on, but despicable. Despicable. You won't get worse than that, but you can try. And so Chris Coons, after allowing Joe Biden to sniff his kid, there's no other explanation, sniff and kiss his child as his child is wincing and trying to get protection, trying to have somebody step in and say, call the cops, quick, call the cops. This old man is molesting a child. Your daughter's screaming out for that, and then nothing happens. Instead, you smile. I was you smile. When I see that's what I mean. There's no other explanation for it. Parents in the chat. Is there any explanation for that? Is there any excuse for that to happen to your kid? No, there is not. And let me tell you, political power is a really, really poor excuse when you are being judged for allowing something like that to happen to your child on camera. Goodness, what does Joe Biden do off camera? Really, it's amazing. Read Ashley Biden's diary if you want a little window into what Joe Biden does off camera and, where Jill Biden gets her shower curtain dresses. Chris Coons continues to debase himself on this Jake Tapper interview. And again, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but way to go, CNN, pushing back on these obvious lies and the obvious continued embarrassment and humiliation by this guy. How much more can you disgrace and debase yourself for Joe Biden? Here we go.
But the core question is whether what you saw in those few moments of the debate and over much of the arc of that 90-minute debate was someone having a difficult night or someone who is no longer up to the job. As he said on the stage in North Carolina, he wouldn't be running if he weren't confident he's up for the job.
So with all due respect, it is not honest to say that this is just one night. There have been moments like this that people have seen in front of the cameras and other moments with cameras not there. Just 2 weeks ago, let me just show this clip. There was another moment like this, not just a senior losing a train of thought, but something else going on. Here he is. It was an event about immigration. He tries to introduce DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and there's some sort of glitch. I don't know what it is. Let's roll that tape.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary, I'm not sure going to introduce you all the way. But all kidding aside, Secretary Mayorkas.
I don't know what that was.
That doesn't trouble me at all, Jake. Frankly, you can put up a dozen clips of me, of you, of anybody who's on TV who speaks publicly all the time, losing their train of thought, misstating who they're about to introduce, not having a fluid moment. And if we're honest with each other, Jake, every time Donald Trump speaks in front of a rally, there's long stretches where he is saying nonsense.
Show me. You know, we broadcast a lot of Trump rallies. We go to a lot of Trump rallies. Have you been to a Trump rally? Does Trump ever say nonsense? Trump makes a lot of jokes. There's a lot of really funny things. We're about to do a meme review of Orange Joe Biden that they tried it out. The new thing is the Orange Joe Biden. But no, I've never heard Donald Trump sputter nonsense and be incapable of speech or incapable of even walking across a flat stage. No, you filthy liar. I'm seeing the chat, meltdown, by the way. Lots of parents here who protect their children. God bless you. Lots of parents in the audience who protect their children. Let's pin a poll to the top of the chat. Make sure you vote in this poll. Should Joe Biden get a knock from the police over what exists in Ashley Biden's diary and over videos like this? Should Joe Biden be criminally investigated for videos that exist of him with these in these sick circumstances? Let's get a poll running. We'll talk through the poll at the end of the show. We'll see what people think. Obviously, if anyone behaved on camera like this towards any other children, if anybody in the public eye did this to strangers' children, they'd immediately be arrested. They'd be on a list for the rest of their life. They had an ankle monitor. And yet Joe Biden is being defended by this man after what he did to his daughter. This really does show you exactly what these people will do, how debased they will be for power. There are some people who are a little more hard-boiled, I guess you could say, from the Clinton years that have gone on TV now to say the opposite. Some people that don't hold office that are just like cantankerous, old, creepy men. And it's like I just say creepy because James Carville is the weirdest looking dude. He looks like an alien or like I don't really know somebody who's like been through a nuclear bomb and all of his hair fell out. I'm not sure. It has no eyebrows. James Carville's a weird looking dude. All I'm saying here is that James Carville represents the vast majority of Democrats who are like, no, this is completely unwinnable for Joe Biden now. Like he's not. Like I want to show you both sides here. James Carville, he's a what's the right way to say this? He's the most famous or one of the most famous Democrat political consultants on earth, going on CNN in a blaze of glory, saying we're done. We've already lost the election. Watch.
We have a country that 72% want something different. If the Democratic Party can't produce something different that 72% of people want, then why do we exist? What are we here for? I mean, the country is clamoring for change. And what are we going to offer them? The same stuff? It doesn't make any sense, Jake. Give the people what they want. Vox populi. They want something different. Let's give it to them. I mean, I just don't get the whole thing. I'll be honest with you. I'm from Bucks, and everybody saw what they saw Thursday night. I don't take any pleasure in this. This was a year ago. I'm going to be 80 in October. You can't fight this stuff. It's just there.
So he says, So that's one of the whatever you think of him. You probably don't think very highly of James Carville. I certainly don't. But he is a legendary Democrat consultant. And he's sitting there saying to you and me live on air on CNN, why do we even exist as a Democrat Party? Like maybe the Democrat Party should just liquidate. Like, why are we even here? What an existential and incredible crisis. He says we must give the people something different. We have to give them something that the people demand something different. And we're not really a political party. We really should just close up shop. And I agree with you, buddy. We should just close up shop if we can't give them what they want. And so actually, I think that maybe Democrats listened to James Carville. And they decided that they're going to give us something very different with Joe Biden. Now, you may recall Joe Biden as a ghostly corpse just a few nights ago on national TV. And again, we now know that that's been seen by hundreds of millions of Americans. CNN released the numbers. So Joe Biden as a sickly, grotesque, translucent, ghost-like corpse appearing on screen. And then suddenly, something magical happened. As they watched the polls shoot up for Donald Trump, they decided they're going to give the people something different. That something different was Joe Biden, but with a fire hose of bronzer straight to the face. This is what we saw last night, Joe Biden. Here we go.
4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We all saw it with our own eyes. We sat there and watched it happen that day. Attack on the police, the ransacking at the Capitol, a mob literally hunting down the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America.
Okay, so I want to just talk really quickly before we get to the memes of Orange Biden, because you know what he's doing, right? It's like pretty obvious what he's doing. We're gonna rip through the memes here. I want to just start by saying this. This is Joe Biden saying he respects the Supreme Court so much. Joe Biden, I respect the Supreme Court. We need someone who's a brick de bitty bitty boo. When I was a kid at the Supreme Court, we used to dance on the steps of the Supreme Court in a suit with Superman and FDR and we're in a wheelchair. And that's what happened, Jack. So this is Joe Biden saying he loves and respects the rule of law. Now, if that doesn't work for you, it's probably because you have the superpower that we have. We are alive, we have a pulse, and we notice things. You might have noticed that Joe Biden has been bragging all over the country about how the Supreme Court stopped him from getting rid of student loans illegally, and he just continued to do it. That Joe Biden, who's broken every single immigration law, the laws on the books since 1964, laws that Joe Biden has voted to re-ratify every 10 years. The American Immigration Act states that it is a felony to enter America illegally and it is a felony to stay here illegally. Joe Biden just ignores those laws. Joe Biden decided to use OSHA to force a vaccine, an experimental injection, let's call it, on you and 80 million other American workers in violation of the law. This same guy is directing his DOJ at every turn to arrest his political opponents in violation of the law. So this jackass is the guy sitting up there mewling with his bronzer dripping off his face that the Supreme Court, like he's upholding the rule of law in this country. Don't let him lie to you, man. Don't do it. Like be a noticer like us. Joe Biden is a despicable character and deserves all of the humiliation that he is receiving right now. He deserves the fall. They are in the collapse. They are in the fall. He deserves a fall. And ladies and gentlemen, it started. It started online with Donald Trump posting this image. Donald Trump, no words. Oh, okay. So here's the back and forth. Thank you, Klein. We did want to show you this just in case you forgot. 4 days apart. Here's Joe Biden as a ghostly creature that you could maybe see in the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney, right? Maybe looks like a guy like holding a lantern, like shivering, like don't enter here, corn pop. And then suddenly he's Trump. But like Trump with a sunburn in a tangerine farm. Look at that. Holy smokes. Guys, I got to work on my tan. Look, I look absolutely sickly compared to Joe Biden there. Let's continue. Donald Trump posting on Truth Social. Okay, well, let's go down the line. So Trump posted this last night of Joe Biden just literally orange. No words necessary. Donald Trump is posting this image. The Babylon Bee predicted this, by the way. Babylon Bee predicted that Joe Biden unveils cool new look and campaign slogan, "Make the United States superb a second time." This is from 2023. Look at Joe Biden. Look at the Joe Biden in the Photoshop of the Babylon Bee. It's perfect. It's perfect. They once again predicted the future. Let's continue here, ladies and gentlemen. Sharon Williams. What? What level of orange is this? Let's see here. What color of orange actually is this? Okay, it's obstinate orange. Very good. Is this real? It's obstinate orange. It's perfect. Sharon Williams has you covered. I am the orange man now. These are see this? See this, Trump? Biden, you became the thing you swore to destroy. Any Revenge of the Sith fans out there? You have become the very thing you swore to destroy. I hate you. That's gonna be Joe Biden on election day. Okay, we have some very funny memes. Some very funny visual memes here. Orange face powder. Gotcha. All right. No, this is the Oompa Loompa Biden. This is good. All right. I love it. This is a show from a little while ago on Netflix. Was a big hit. Orange is the New Black. Barack Obama. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, not okay. Biden campaign team, not okay. Kamala Harris, keep her out of the White House. Keep her out of the White House. She's in the not okay. Trump, let me give you a hand here, buddy. Trump is a really nice guy. Would Trump do that? I mean, Trump is a really nice guy. Could it have been Trump who actually said, "Listen, I feel bad for you, pal. Like this is like shadow boxing here. Let me give you a hand. Come on down to Mar-a-Lago. Let me give you a hand." I like the stains on the shirt collar too. This that's really good. Ooh, baby. Oh, baby. James Carville's demanding a new look, a new candidate. Look, we got a new candidate. Make America good again, Jack. Kramer, what's going on in there? It's the 2024 election. It's the 2024 election, Jerry. What do we got here? Spider-Man meme. Ooh, okay, that's good. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. All right. Here we go. Joe Biden got made fun of so bad last week for being sickly white, he literally went out to become Orange Trump. Yeah. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Orange Man bad until, of course, our Orange Man comes rolling in between the hours of 10 and 4. This is just one more important little piece of information here, ladies and gentlemen, that we learned this week, that Joe Biden only functions between the hours of 10 and 4. Now, are you an American? Do you have a job? Do you work? Did you work? You know, maybe you're retired. Let me tell you something. Most people don't work between the hours of 10 and 4. The hours of 10 and 4 are actually activity hours at nursing homes. This isn't how any of this works. But according to Biden staffers who are now turning on Biden and speaking to the press, Joe Biden is only functional between these hours. Watch.
You also have reporting this weekend that there's a specific window of time during the day when President Biden is fully engaged and not as engaged outside of that window. So what is that?
Absolutely. So, you'll notice that the president usually, if he has a public event on camera, it's usually between the hours of 10 and 4. And that's not an accident. It's usually those times when he has less gaffes, when he's less prone to misspeaking, when he doesn't stutter as much. You'll notice that whenever he's traveling abroad or whenever he's having, a really late rally or even a really late fundraiser, just even going through the White House transcripts, you can see that they have to correct his words a lot and he can meander. I think of, one particular fundraiser just last September in New York when Joe Biden repeated the Charlottesville story that he's often told about deciding to run. He basically told the same story word for word, just a few minutes apart. And then just at a recent rally in Detroit, it was a late Sunday night, the White House transcription office had to correct the president's own words 9 times. And so basically what aides have told me is that he is just like, he's solid between the hours of 10 to 4, but he often makes more mistakes. He can ramble beyond those hours.
Okay, so Biden is rambling. The press are now turning. Everybody is twisting the knife and backstabbing. What about the guy who's neighbors with Hunter Biden? What about the guy who's like better sourced inside of this world than probably any single conservative alive, which would be Tucker Carlson, who lived amongst these people in Georgetown for the better part of 30 years, right? Who consider them neighbors. Tucker sort of broke the internet a couple of hours ago, saying that Obama actually supports a brokered convention and supports kicking Joe Biden out of the office, and that Jill Biden is the Lady Macbeth who has been cloistering her husband away from anybody who may convince him to drop out. Now Tucker out with another banger here this morning, saying Joe Biden is done. Bet on it. Well, we believe Tucker, okay? So Tucker says Joe Biden's finished. So what's going on here? Too many prominent Democrats have suggested he's brain damaged. They can't walk it back, and they have to remove him, and they will. The only question is when. If they're smart, they'll do it immediately. Kamala is going to be the nominee, which we have been talking about for weeks now. They'll do it. They might as well let her be president first. That leaves the question of Trump and the sentencing on July 11th, which we have breaking news for in just a second. Biden's collapse makes this much more perilous moment than it was. At this point, Trump's not just the Republican candidate, but effectively the presumptive president. If you're going to put him in jail, it had better be for a very serious crime that everybody agrees he committed. Otherwise, you risk destroying the system completely and forever. We're in legitimate danger, and Democrats need to pull back, says Tucker Carlson, with 128,000 likes, 22,000 retweets, 9 million views, getting huge pickup on this commentary. And we have breaking news for you. Why don't we put up the breaking news banner? This one's a massive banger here, baby. Breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, presumably, is no longer going to be sentenced in New York for his little paperwork crimes. This is incredible. This just hit the wires seconds ago. We have the order. I have the order here in front of me. New York prosecutors do not oppose Donald Trump's sentencing delay after immunity ruling. So part of our show today was going to be that Donald Trump has challenged, reporting the news that Donald Trump has now challenged, given the immunity ruling at the Supreme Court yesterday. Donald Trump is now saying, hold on, this changes everything. And as president, I have immunity for official acts. And that would presumably be official, like acts that have to do with running for president too. And isn't that what the charges were in New York? Wasn't that the whole point of the trial? Was that you did this in order to run for president? So what does that mean? What is an official act and an unofficial act? Well, as we discovered yesterday, that's going to take years, decades, a millennia for the courts to decide. And now the court in New York has effectively said they will not oppose the Trump sentencing delay in the hush money case. This broke seconds ago, ladies and gentlemen. We have just like a 3-paragraph article here from the AP. Let's rip through it. Manhattan prosecutors said Tuesday that they do not oppose Trump's request to delay his sentencing. That was supposed to take place days from now, on the 11th. And as the trial is, he seeks to have the conviction overturned, given the Supreme Court ruling, given broad immunity to presidents. Holy cannoli. In a letter filed with New York court, prosecutors in Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office say they would be open to a delay in the sentencing order in order to work through Trump's motions. This means that sentencing may take place after the convention or years after the convention. The letter came one day after Trump's attorney requested the judge delay the sentencing. The lawyers argued that the Supreme Court's decision confirmed a position that the defense raised earlier in the case. The prosecutors should be precluded from introducing some evidence that the team said constituted Trump's presidential acts. So would you get a mistrial here? Could you get a delay now that goes on for years, as these things tend to do? Here's the prosecutor's letter right now. Shows you, ladies and gentlemen, what they are, that they have effectively agreed. This is again, breaking moments ago. Here we go. Incredible. Let's read here really quickly here. We are in receipt of the defendant's pre-motion letter, so Donald Trump's pre-motion letter, seeking to file a motion to set aside the verdict based upon the Supreme Court's July ruling, Trump versus the United States. In that letter, defendant requested a memorandum to support such a motion. The defendant's letter states that he does not object to an adjournment. This request filed on July 10th necessarily requests blah, blah, blah. Although we believe the defendant's argument to be without merit, we do not oppose the request to leave to file a pursuant request to adjourn sentencing, blah, blah, blah. So they don't oppose it, meaning that it's going to be now delayed for who knows how long. So there's the letter in black and white. Read it and weep. Incredible. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. This is breaking news. This is remarkable. We were planning on covering this in the show, but this is the breaking news on what's happening right now is Donald Trump is winning his court cases. Now he's going to be able to reverse engineer, because of the Supreme Court, all of these cases. This is it's a remarkable moment. Many would say perhaps an answer to prayer. So in truly, truly historic times that we are living in. How can it get any better for Donald Trump right now? How can it get any worse for Joe Biden right now? Well, it can. It can get worse, and it always will. This is the rule for Joe Biden. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. A man named Harry Enton, who you may be familiar with if you watch the program. He is the only pollster on TV that we trust because he is, what's the right way to say this? Like he's like deeply honest and kind of entertaining to watch. And he's talking through Joe Biden's polls yesterday because there's a lot of fake news out there that like the debate didn't affect Biden. Don't worry, the debate didn't affect Biden. Joe Biden's doing great. No, Joe Biden isn't doing great. Joe Biden's doing terrible. Check this out.
News YouGov conducted some polling post-debate. We can compare it to the pre-debate numbers. And the bottom line, Alice, it's not any good. It's not any good. Look at this. Voters who say that Biden has the mental health to be president. It was just 35% pre-debate. Look where it's dropped to now post-debate, 27%. How about that he should be running for president? It was 37% pre-debate. It's now 28%. I have never seen numbers this bad for an incumbent president during my lifetime. I mean, that mental health to be president, just 27%. You might say, okay, you know, that's low, but a lot of people thought Biden was too old back in 2020. These numbers look nothing like this back in 2020. These numbers were bad already, and the truth is, Allison, they have gotten just considerably worse, even in just a few days after that first presidential debate.
Whew, man. Oh, man. Big mad. Libs, big mad. And the honest ones are beginning to now suddenly black pill their audiences that they've been giving mainline copium and hopium to, that you're doomed. We just played you a clip of James Carville saying, what's the point of the Democrat Party? Maybe we should just liquidate the whole thing. Sell the DNC building. Like, we're not even a real party. That's the existential doom that they are now facing. And here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We were going to cover this on the show. Here is the news. Outside of the breaking news, Donald Trump moves to overturn New York hush money verdict just hours after SCOTUS ruling granted him unprecedented immunity. That's not true. It's not unprecedented at all. It's the immunity that has existed legally for a president for the past 40 years, but whatever. You got to write a headline. This is making all the right people turn and cry on TV. We have a Salt That Lib supercut that is delicious. Again, if you're sodium deficient, don't buy a supplement. Just watch our show. We have so much salt for you today. All of the right people are having hyperventilating meltdowns on TV over this. So it must be a great day for America. and it is a great day for America. We spent the entire 2.5-hour show yesterday talking about it and speaking with some of the best legal minds and experts that exist. Brett Tolman, Mike Davis, members of Congress. It's an incredible slate of individuals who came on the show to tell us this is just. And of course, this is simply an upholding of how America has functioned, how the executive branch was meant to function. The president shouldn't be caught in a lawsuit. Listen, without immunity, the president, no matter who it is going to be sued 250,000 times per day. That's how it would operate, okay, in order to like just tie the president down. So it is the stupidest possible argument. And if you read Sotomayor's dissent here, you realize that's how smooth-brained, how dumb the arguments actually are, how stupid these people actually are. But instead of like reading that opinion to you, maybe we might still do a dramatic reading of that opinion. We can't do better, though, than the dramatic readings yesterday from the libs as they cried themselves a river. Please pour salt into the comment section. We'll put your salt on screen for our Salt That Lib of the day.
The Supreme Court is functioning, and it is basically giving a green light for criminal activity in the Oval Office under certain circumstances, which I think, given the present state of our country, is very, very scary.
The president's interactions with the Department of Justice are absolutely immune. Terrifying decision.
For all practical purposes, this is absolute immunity. It's dangerous.
Professor, it's indeed a frightening scenario that you're outlining there.
The president becomes a king in that circumstance, and it's just incomprehensible that the Supreme Court could come to such a judgment.
Trump's Supreme Court has decreed him a king, and now it's just up to voters to say, there are no guardrails now. Second term for Trump, there are no guardrails.
We've been on this steady march of acceptance, a normalization of political violence. Now it's almost codified.
I guess, theoretically, President Biden, acting within the scope of his official duties, could dispatch the military to take out the conservative justices on the court, and he'd be.
But then something happened today. Immediately following today's seismic Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity, Trump's lawyers advised the judge in the New York criminal case that they are going to ask him formally, they're going to file a motion asking him essentially to set aside Trump's guilty verdict, despite the jury's verdict in that case. After the after Trump's lawyers notified the judge that they were going to ask him to set aside the verdict, prosecutors then didn't send in their sentencing recommendations as they had been expected to do. Now, as far as we know, the sentencing is still on. But there is an element of uncertainty now as to what kind of a hitch this might be in finishing up this criminal case in which Trump has already been convicted. We can report tonight that Trump's lawyers have asked that the sentencing itself be delayed. And we expect that Judge Merchan will consider delaying the sentence after he gets both that request from Trump's lawyers, but also after he hears from the prosecutors on that matter.
The sentencing is still on? We hope. The sentencing is still on? It's definitely going to happen, right? We're definitely going to put Trump in jail. Boom! Biatch! No, the sentencing's now off. Boy, it's going to be tasty to tune in tonight to Maddow. Did you see the coat there? It's still on, right? We can still sentence him. Just really quickly here. Julie Kelly. It's so awesome. It is impossible to overstate how effing stupid Sonia Sotomayor is, she says. The real question is, did she cry after she wrote this? This is in a dissent. You can see why Lawrence Tribe, who's a legendary lawyer at Harvard, advised Obama not to choose her because she's dumb. We don't have time to show you the letter. Lawrence Tribe, big time leftist, said, please don't choose Sonia Sotomayor. She's low IQ, Obama. Like he wrote that letter. That letter's public. The court effectively states there's a law-free zone around the president, upsetting the status quo that existed since the founding. The official act of immunity lies like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place its own interests over political survival. You know, there's something called impeachment. There's also something called laws of governance for our nation. It's like idea that you could send SEAL Team 6 to go kill an American. No, you can't, actually. You realize that's treason, right? You realize that the president is subject to military code. You can't just go murder Americans, unless you're Barack Obama, of course. Immune. This is in an actual decision. This is in an actual decision. Look at this. Sonia Sotomayor. Is she sobbing? Is like, as she's writing this, are the salty tears like jamming up her keyboard? She probably doesn't know how to use a computer. Are they like getting into her pen or crayon as she writes this? Is it melting the crayon she's writing this decision in? Only one person we'd want to talk about this subject with, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody who I don't think wrote his new book in crayon. I'm not sure, though. I'm not, we don't know. We're not sure. But we do know this. He is the author of the incredible new book, Unhumans, The Secret History of the Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. Senior editor of Human Events, Jack Posobiec, joins the show now. Jack, listen, I want to talk about your book, but I really want to talk about your tweet from this morning, your post on X. Don't want to dead name Twitter. That said Donald Trump could use this Supreme Court decision to effectively get rid of all charges, and it seems like Donald Trump's in the process of doing that and winning as we speak, with the breaking news out of New York. Can you unpack that for us?
I can. And by the way, just for folks out there, the shirt does not say free Benny, because as we know, Benny Johnson does nothing for free. No, this is a free Steve Bannon shirt that we've got set up here for political prisoner Steve Bannon. Look, the Supreme Court's immunity ruling we're already beginning to see. This is the reason that you saw the freak out from Rachel Maddow, from Sonia Sotomayor. By the way, we're going to be releasing a copy of Unhumans in crayon just for Sonia Sotomayor. There's going to be coloring books. I think that the guillotine sections will be very, very colorful. The Chinese Communist Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, lots of colors in there in the gulag, Sonia. And so what people don't realize is, because you're sitting there going, and most conservatives are going, well, wait, isn't this kind of just what the Constitution says? Because if you're going to have an executive and an executive branch, then it follows that you would need that executive to be more, or I should say less constrained. He would have more latitude than the legislature or the Supreme Court. This is the entire purpose for a commander-in-chief, having one person that in times of crisis, this goes back to ancient Rome, by the way. In times of crisis, they would take one guy and give him, Cincinnatus, they would give him all the power and say, deal with the crisis, and then we'll hand it back to the Senate. So it goes back to these very ancient beliefs that understand the trappings of where we get our Constitution and where we get our three parties, or our three-branch system from. And so if you don't understand all of that background and that culture and that history, or you come from a part of the world that has none of it, then it wouldn't surprise me that people wouldn't understand these basic precepts that we're discussing here. The people didn't just come up with the Constitution out of nowhere. It actually made sense. They were moving from a monarchy, but they also understood that unbridled democracy wasn't the answer either. So the real reason for the freak out is because they know that this was going to have a cascading effect, which we're starting to see, and you so correctly covered, with the delay of President Trump's sentencing. Now Alvin Bragg realizes, well, wait, I have to delay this beyond the date, because he does have constitutional grounds here to say that all of this was done as presidential official acts, or potentially even core constitutional acts under Article 2 of the Constitution. Because remember, they were the ones who brought up the hush money payments. that happened when he was the president of the United States. And by the way, Benny, if you go and look at the actual opinion, not the Sonia Sotomayor, it's basically her just regurgitating what she listens to on like hardcore feminist wine mom podcasts, and then like put that into immune, you know, and regurgitating that as a Supreme Court decision. It also states in the Roberts decision, and people know Roberts is not some like rock rib Trump supporter type, that even he pointed out that you cannot include evidence in your conviction that occurred when someone was sitting in office. Well, that's so funny because I remember them including lots of evidence from when President Trump was the president of the United States. And so not only can he move for a motion potentially to push back and delay the sentencing date, of course, he should move for a full-on retrial and vacate the conviction, because guess what, boys and girls, there's a reason that the SCOTUS's first word is supreme. That means above all the lower courts, and any lower court ruling that is now in contention with this Supreme Court decision can now be overturned. This includes the Jan 6ers. This includes Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, who are currently behind bars. And yes, it also, and this is where my tweet was coming from, he could obviously, the Mar-a-Lago documents, that was a core constitutional act. As the commander-in-chief, he is in control of classified information. He can determine where it goes. All of the January 6 cases, of course, even the Fulton County case with Fani Willis, which I think people know is kind of hanging by a thread anyway, like Fani Willis's love life, apparently. That
or her pink dress that's on backwards.
Her pink dress, yeah, already having some issues. Yeah, I think she and Jill Biden have the same fashion designer,
stylist,
the same stylist. Yeah. That instead he can simply go and say, wait a minute, the execution and proper concordance of an election is a core constitutional act of the chief of the executive branch. And calling up Fulton County and making sure that everything was done in accord down in Georgia and that all the laws were followed were also a core executive constitutional decision and constitutional action. So that means, guess what? That case could be completely dismissed. Now, we don't know how the judges will rule in all of this, but this test that has been created by Roberts and the Trump court actually sets up a huge problem, because all of the lawfare can get thrown out the window. I mean, right on the face of it, all of the discussions that that President Trump had with Jeffrey Clark. Well, guess what? Jeffrey Clark was the acting assistant attorney general, and as such is a core constitutional member. The Department of Justice is a constitutional agency. That's the president's employee. He has 100% absolute plenary immunity over those discussions. And oh, by the way, if people want to really turn back the clock, this is the exact same argument that President Richard Milhouse Nixon made all the way back before they threw him out, because he was exactly right, and Nixon was proven right yesterday in that decision. And they're terrified because the deep state thought that they had the ability to just throw presidents out when they didn't like them. Not anymore.
So it's very interesting when you study Trump and Nixon, and they're using the exact same playbook. The difference is now we have media like this, and we can broadcast the truth, and you can actually do an end around the corporate press, which we all know that the people that took down Nixon were members of the deep state, were intel officers. It's quite remarkable to actually go through the history there. Don't have enough time. But now we can deliver the truth outside of that ecosystem of lies that has, of course, kept Joe Biden propped up for so long, that is crumbling right now. And there's far too many fires to put out. It is a truly remarkable moment. It's really vindicating for guys like you and me who've been doing our best to build here. And I guess ultimately that's my question, Jeff.
I actually asked Roger Stone about that once, and people know that Roger Stone was one of the youngest aides for Nixon. He was on the committee. Comes up in I say Roger Stone. It's funny because he's the only guy who was in the Watergate and the Mueller Russiagate investigation. So he's got both of them. He bookends his career. And I said, well, Roger, why did Nixon resign? Why didn't Nixon keep fighting? Why didn't he go out there? And Roger said, look, he's like, I asked the president that once. I asked President Nixon, and Nixon said, because back then we didn't have shows like Human Events. We didn't have shows like The Benny Show. We didn't have all of the YouTubers and the influencers and this army of people to go out there and spread the other narrative that people just believed. This is the era of Walter Cronkite. This was the era of 3, 6, and 10, 2 national newspapers. And if you weren't part of that, then you were not part of anything, because television, and the television areas predominantly, was not democratized. And it was the internet that returned the democratization of information to the people. We talk about that in the book. We talk about that in Unhumans, because so many people believe the lies of the past, and we're working to overturn those lies. We get into Nixon, we get into Joseph McCarthy, and we realize how much the communists lied to us in the past. They're lying to us now. And the fact of the matter is that I say, look, not everybody is going to be Elon Musk and go found a social media network, Donald Trump, and launch a Truth Social. But you know what? You got a phone and you got a piece of glass in your hand, and you could walk into the library and see what they're showing on that front table that's going out there. And you can reach out to people in your territory, be the sheriffs of your territory, and understand that, guess what? The Unhumans, those leftists in your area, I guarantee you, they're in your library, they're in your parks department, they're going into all of the community nodes of influence, because this is how they think. Conservatives are addicted to rules. Conservatives are addicted to, we are going to have the best principles, and we have the best principles, and people are going to like us because our principles. And the left has no principles, but you know what? The left focuses on power. They focus entirely on power. How do they get power? How do they attain power? And so this gets to what you were talking about, that the left had all the power during Nixon. And suddenly, a magic spell was cast overnight that conservatives are realizing, wait a minute, if we use a little bit of power, then we can actually take our principles and put them into practice. And if we put our principles into practice, then in fact, we can get the country we want and the direct results that we want, not just the indirect results from sort of, complaining about the left. Oh, the hypocrisy, double standards. Like, yeah, we know. Yeah, they know too, by the way. They don't care, because they only care about power. We say follow the money. The left says follow the power. And so this book specifically, and How to Crush Them, is key here, because I'm asking guys, don't abandon your principles. No. But at the same time, when I see people like my friend Stephen K. Bannon get hauled off to the gulag, I go around and I look at the people who are the conservative leaders out there and the conservative thought leaders, and I say, you know something? There's been a lot of people that have lied about Steve Bannon. There's been a lot of people in the party that have worked against him. And at a time like this, it's time to put all that aside. And I'm sorry. But when I see Bill Barr up there laughing about Steve Bannon being hauled off to the gulag, I just have to say, no mercy for traitors. No mercy for traitors, even a little bit. And so guess what? Bill's on the list. Esper's on the list. Milley is on the list. All of these people will be investigated for their actions prior to January 6th, and whether or not they countermand the president of the United States, going back to presidential immunity and official acts. If Mark Milley is having conversations with Susan Rice, who is not a member of the chain of command, then you, sir, are committing treason. You are committing treason. And Benny, I know you know this more than anyone else. None of this will stop until Democrats are in handcuffs. And I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying every single one. I'm talking about reciprocity. I'm talking about a little thing called do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So until our side understands that, can I get Jim Jordan to start subpoenaing, I don't know, anyone? Mike Benz has got all the lists of the disinformation people out there, that entire mafia, that cabal. Where are the subpoenas? Just use lawfare on these people, and then make them feel the emotional, financial, and political and legal pain and harassment of dealing with that. And just watch. It's called mutually assured destruction, and we're going to be doing a little bit of it.
It's an exciting time to be living, and there's so many things that we would like to explore with Jack, but unfortunately, we are at time. So Unhumans is the book that you must go out and get. This is sort of the playbook for what the Marxists wish to do to you and what you can do to fight back. Jack is one of those fighters. Make sure that you follow Jack. 2.5 million Americans. Can't be wrong. 2.5 million Americans. Got it. Can't be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, if you actually really want to fight back, then vote for Trump in 2024. You know, you can't
Nothing-
prosecute a sitting
nothing more
president.
important than
So if you want to put
Nothing more
everything on ice, that's the way to do it, actually. And a president can't be president from jail, no matter what they do to Donald Trump. So here's, ladies and gentlemen, our golden ticket. Jack, Godspeed, sir.
God bless, Benny. Much love to the family, man.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so much fun to have people who share our energy, who share the ability to mock, ridicule, and laugh at these people. They are actual monsters who do wish, not all of them, obviously, but they are actual monsters who that exist inside of those ranks, who wish to make your life miserable, who wish to destroy that which we have created, but with the providence of God here in this country. And this is a great country. And as Benjamin Franklin said in his prayer at the Constitutional Convention, if a sparrow cannot fall from the sky without God's notice, how can a nation rise without his aid? And so this great place should not be undone by evil men. And we should fight that. And it's been actually some pretty exciting and hilarious twists and turns. But this is one that, quite frankly, I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting the last 72 hours of the best news cycle that Donald Trump has ever had. I want to just pop up one or two quick things, ladies and gentlemen. We have this really fascinating poll from this morning and a poll from yesterday. Donald Trump went, well, here's the poll from the audience. Should Joe Biden be investigated over Ashley Biden's sniffing videos? Who are the 4%? Who are the 4%? Hey, Alex, I want to talk through the polls in New Hampshire and New Mexico. Just really quickly want to hit on those. Are these members of the audience that actually clicked the wrong one? Did you click the wrong one? These members of the audience need to get your prescriptions checked? We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. Speaking of somebody who needs to get their prescription checked, as we pull up the most recent polls, something that is materializing here, whether it's Tucker Carlson saying it or whether it's people inside of the Democratic Party saying it, that Jill Biden is like a truly sick and evil person. Jill Biden is an actual. I got a phone call from a Democrat neighbor of mine. All right. As a Democrat neighbor, I live in like very much a purple city. Okay. So Tampa is like a purple city in Florida. It's not hard blue. It's not hard red. And in my neighborhood, of course, probably like in your neighborhoods, there are Democrats, and presumably they're like sane people, okay? Not like off their meds, psychotic women who actually run the Democrat Party with their gimp, neutered eunuch men behind them, doing anything they can to appease the mentally ill woman, right? Like those people you should probably cut out of your life. Those people are, the ones who, like, if you say the word Trump, they start screaming and spitting in your face. You should cut them out of your life. I got a phone call this morning from a buddy. Lives down the road. I think he's like, you could describe him as a small D Democrat, all right? Like just a guy who like thinks he's a Democrat. And this guy called me this morning, and I kid you not, my wife was in the kitchen listening to the other end. I had it on speakerphone, listening to the other end of this call. This dude goes, I'm calling to tell you that you were right about Joe Biden, and I was wrong. Because we've had our friendly, very courteous debates here on Joe Biden. He says I was wrong, and Joe Biden's a monster, and I witnessed the debate. But more importantly, I witnessed the debate, and we all kind of knew he had dementia. But I didn't. I thought Orange Man bad, and then I saw his family's behavior. I kid you not. I was having my first cup of coffee in the morning. I had him on speakerphone there. My wife's feeding the kids pancakes, and she's literally listening to this phone call from a Democrat neighbor of mine. He goes, and maybe you have a neighbor that's similar to this. He goes, these people are monsters. Joe Biden's families are monsters. This man's he's a healthcare professional. And he says, I know what Alzheimer's looks like up close. And I know what dementia looks like up close. And I've never seen anyone so bad as Joe Biden. And that Jill Biden's a witch, he says. That Hunter Biden, they're true monsters. I said, they're demons, dude. They're like, well, yeah, that's one way to describe it. And he goes, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm voting for Trump or not, but I'm not voting for Joe Biden. this Democrat tells me this morning, as I was sipping my coffee. And this is what people are seeing all around the country. The final thing I'll say about this conversation, he's a medical professional, and he says, I called my wife after seeing that debate and after seeing what the family did to Joe Biden afterwards. Clips like I'm about to show you of Jill Biden, the way that she's clearly abusing Joe Biden. Not that you should feel sorry for Joe Biden. He asked for this, but like you should really have deep, like an abiding hatred for this behavior. He said, I called my wife, and I'm like, I'll probably, the odds are I'll get Alzheimer's or some kind of Parkinson's or something someday. And you better not do this kind of monstrous stuff that they're doing to Joe Biden to me. And afterwards, my wife said, if one of us gets like this, and that's just the way it goes, when you get old, it's just the way it goes. Maybe you've seen it in your family. Maybe somebody in your family suffering from this. It happens to so many families, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of families across the country. You have somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and they, really deteriorate. You are a demon if you take advantage of those people. Those people need care and help, not to be thrust into the national spotlight and be given the hardest job on earth, which is the president of the United States. And it's only happening so Jill Biden can go to state dinners, and so Jill Biden can get Vogue covers. Like, here you go. This just dropped. Vogue cover of Jill Biden. This witch is using her broken husband and his broken brain in order to get herself splattered on covers, in order to get like photo shoots of herself and to live some little glamorous lifestyle that she's always thought she deserved, because she's an unhappy, suburban, dumpy, Chardonnay, Xanax mom from the suburbs. Stepmom from the suburbs, right? Remember, she was the babysitter. Joe Biden stole her from her husband. Her husband says this in interviews. Jill Biden's husband is still alive and says that Joe Biden destroyed my marriage and stole my wife. And she cheated on me with Joe Biden. That's their little love story, okay? And Joe Biden cheated on his wife with her, okay? The mother of Beau Biden and Hunter Biden. Have you ever heard that as the actual, have you ever heard that? The special love story? Did they tell you that around Valentine's Day? When the Today Show does a special on the Bidens and their love story? No, they don't. They skip over that Jill was the babysitter? Oh, interesting. Okay. The point of all this, and just a quick little rant, is that everybody is starting to see the monstrosity that this family is. That Joe Biden has been a selfish, an actual low IQ, dumb person who gets elected in some little teeny backwater state. All he ever had to do was get 100,000 votes in this little backwater state, muscle him in through the unions, get himself to Washington, D.C., he called himself a prostitute for big industry. Joe Biden called himself a prostitute for big industry, was too dumb to run for president 7 different times, had to drop out, scandal every single time, was able to fall ass backwards into Barack Obama's running mate, because Barack Obama needed to shore up the whole lunch pail union crowd, right? Barack Obama always hated him, said never underestimate his ability to F things up. The Obamas always hated Jill Biden. Jill Biden and the Obamas have always disliked each other. Tucker Carlson says this, actually, that they've always disliked each other. But now it's boiled over. Jill Biden is the driving force behind her husband's reelection campaign, says Tucker, just as she was in 2020, when other members of the family, including Joe Biden's sister, considered him too impaired to run. So this is the evil that is now on full display, and you can be happy that your prayers have been answered. We've been covering on this show the Biden family for so long. Back when we'd go live and we had ALX remembers this, 5 people watching, all right? And we've been rolling this show out, and we've been hitting this message, and we've been hitting it as hard as we possibly can, back before it was popular or before anybody agreed with us, bringing on guys like Kash Patel to talk about it, and Mike Davis to talk about it, right? And now, ladies and gentlemen, the whole country sees it. And so I consider that, this is not to pat ourselves on the back, I consider that an answer to prayer. The answer to prayer is that everybody tuned in saw this on debate night.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes.
All right, there we go. We just got a closing meme for you from the great Jerry. A brand new meme. You've never seen this meme, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry just dropped it. I want to check this ALX just to make sure we're clear to play. Just to show you how much we appreciate you, especially you 5 people who used to be the 5 people who watched when we went live. Make sure that we just to say how much we love and appreciate you. We will make you memes live during the show. Okay? What other show? What other show would ever do that? We do care about you. We do not abide by people who commit elder abuse on this program. It's a sick and deeply immoral thing to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we close here on our brand new meme, we wanted to counter that immorality and that sickness inside of the cretinous Biden family, who never thought for a single second, never paused for a second before every member of that family got rich off of Joe Biden, his political office, and used this disabled man. Let's just start calling him what he is. He's disabled. Joe Biden is a disabled man who should hang a little blue tag on his rearview mirror and slowly pull in to the parking spots at the doctor's office or the CVS with the big blue stickers on them. Joe Biden is disabled. They never thought for a second that they shouldn't use this disabled man to enrich themselves off of the backs of the taxpayers. This family deserves a fall, okay? And what's happening right now, I view it as completely biblical. Now time for our verse of the day. Verse of the day from 2 Timothy. For the Spirit of God gave us, for the Spirit God gave us, does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Don't be timid. Have power now. Like, seek these things. It is very important. I think the Christian church is too often neutered. The Christian church too often doesn't actually behave boldly and doesn't, the apostles were bold. Christ was bold. Christ had power and used it for good. This is, of course, what we are called to do. Use your power for good. The Good Samaritan used his power for good. He reached directly into it. He did everything he could to help, right? And he used what he had, what God had given him, for good. It's probably one of the most famous parables, maybe the most famous parable, the Good Samaritan. So many people on earth know this. Used his power for good. God's Spirit gives us power, this verse says. Do you feel that? We should have love and we should have self-discipline. And all of those things follow one another. So let's stand upright on this program. Let's ensure, ladies and gentlemen, that we commit ourselves to winning here, and that we don't take anything for granted, and that these moments where we can read you all of the good news, we can read you all of the oh guys, we're not going to be able to play the meme. Oh, okay. No, okay. We don't have, okay, I'm sorry. We'll have the meme we'll have another meme for you. Okay, all right, fine. Upset. All of the good things, ladies and gentlemen, like Donald Trump winning New Mexico, Donald Trump winning New Hampshire. We have these polls, but it's happening. Like the Real Clear Politics average here, ladies and gentlemen. Like all of this, all of these good things that are happening. Look at this. Trump, ascendant. Look at this. This is Donald Trump in battleground states. ascendant. Donald Trump tied with Joe Biden in New Mexico, winning New Hampshire. No Republicans won New Hampshire in 25 years. Yeah. These are good things that happen to those who understand their power. And that's something that we're going to really press forward with through the end of the year, certainly through the end of this election. We're going to march together. Ladies and gentlemen, the salt must flow. And we're going to be happy warriors. And we thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. The meme, I've been told that the meme will be available at 2 o'clock for our 2 p.m. publication. All right. Okay. And we'll make sure to play it on the show tomorrow. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is another meme for your viewing pleasure. May God bless you. And have a good one in this, the greatest country on earth. It's your boy, Benny. See ya.
Ha 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 ha!